Okay, we're going to do the audio script now for group number 5 from the PM class, and their topic is Prohibition, and this is for episode 8, which is Boom, the economic boom, and this is from the video series America, the Story of Us. Group number 5 will be doing their group presentation on March 9th, Wednesday. Introduction. Veronica Rothstein in gangster-style hat, holding a cigar. Hello, my name is Veronica Rothstein. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome group number 5. I am honored to bring to your attention our project on Prohibition. Prohibition in the United States marked one of the last stages of the Progressive Era. In our presentation, we will go through the history of the events from 1920 to 1933. We'll show you the general effects and unintended consequences of Prohibition for American society, such as an increase in the illegal production and sale of liquor, the spread of speakeasy bars, and the rise of the mafia. And now, Yetta Compone will tell us more about the history of Prohibition in the U.S. History of Prohibition in the U.S. Thank you, Rothstein. Prohibition in the United States was designed to reduce drinking by eliminating the businesses related to alcoholic beverages. The 18th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution took away licenses to do businesses from those people. Let's correct that. It should be business. The 18th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution took away licenses to do business from those people. The leaders of the Prohibition movement were alarmed at the drinking behavior of Americans, and they were concerned that there was a culture of drink among some sectors of the population that, with continuing immigration from Europe, was spreading. The Prohibition movement's strength grew, especially after the formation of the Anti-Saloon League in 1893. The League and other organizations that supported Prohibition, such as the Women's Christian Temperance Union, soon began to succeed in enacting local prohibition laws. Eventually, the Prohibition campaign was a national effort. During this time, the brewing industry was the most prosperous of the alcoholic beverage industries. Because of the competitive nature of brewing, the brewers entered the retail business. Americans called retail businesses selling beer and whiskey by the glass saloons. To expand the sale of beer, brewers expanded the number of saloons. It was not uncommon to find at least one saloon, and frequently more, on every block, so there was a competition between them. To earn greater profits, saloon keepers sometimes introduced other vices such as gambling and prostitution into their establishments, in an attempt to get more customers and therefore more money. The Prohibition leaders believed that once licenses were removed from the liquor business, they could see Americans stop drinking. Note 2. And now, Lucky Rasha will tell us more about how Prohibition affected people. Part 2, How Prohibition Affected People, Lucky Rasha. Thank you, Capone. When the Prohibition era began, a few sage observers predicted it would not go well. Prohibition was such a failure. When the law went into effect, only gangsters, bootleggers, and corrupt officers and Prohibition agents seemed to benefit. It created a vast illegal market for the production, trafficking, and sale of alcohol. As the decade progressed, jails overflowed. No S in alcohol. The initial effects of Prohibition were largely negative. The economy took a major hit. America immediately lost a big amount of their tax revenue and legal jobs. Unintended consequences? As we know, all laws have exceptions and loopholes. This was the case of Prohibition law. One of the legal exceptions was that pharmacists were allowed to dispense whiskey by prescription. So bootleggers discovered that running a pharmacy was a perfect front for their trade. Because Americans were also allowed to obtain wine for religious purposes, enrollment rose at churches and synagogues. The law was unclear when it came to Americans making wine at home. So the law that was meant to stop people from drinking was instead turning many of them into experts on how to make it, which had serious consequences for public health. Prohibition nearly ruined the country. There were, by the end of the 1920s, more alcoholics and illegal drinking establishments than before Prohibition. Again, Prohibition nearly ruined the country. There were, by the end of the 1920s, more alcoholics and illegal drinking establishments than before Prohibition. More explanations will be presented by Crazy Rami and Anastasia Mazaria. Now you are going to watch Crazy Rami's video about the mafia. In the Prohibition era, there was a high demand for alcohol. This created an atmosphere that tolerated crime. Criminals and politicians saw the opportunity to make fortunes and began shipping larger quantities of alcohol to the U.S. During the late 19th century, waves of Italians came to America in search of better economic opportunities. Italian gangs started a liquor smuggling business and transformed themselves into sophisticated criminal enterprises. Also, the Sicilian Mafia in Italy was under attack from the fascist regime of Benito Mussolini, and some of them escaped to the U.S. and got involved in the bootlegging business. The profits from illegal alcohol exceeded the traditional crimes of protection, extortion, gambling, and prostitution. Prohibition allowed mafia families to make fortunes. Italian mafia families began wars for absolute control over this business. In New York City, two factions of organized crime had control, one led by Joe Mazaria and the other by Salvatore Maranzano. After the murder of Mazaria in 1931, Maranzano divided New York City into 5 families. He established the rules for the organization, and all the families had to pay tribute to him as the boss of all bosses. The families didn't like this arrangement and killed Maranzano on the orders of Lucky Luciano. After Prohibition ended in 1933, organized crime needed to find new businesses to replace the alcohol. Some of them found other ventures such as unions, construction, sanitation, and drug trafficking. And now Anastasia will talk about speakeasies during Prohibition and the bars that still exist around New York City today. Speakeasy bars. Let's talk about speakeasies. Speakeasies were secret bars which used to. Speakeasies were secret bars which used to illegally sell alcoholic beverages during Prohibition. They were hidden within stores, restaurants, and other businesses. Often, they were established underground. Some speakeasies were similar to today's clubs with live jazz music and dance performances. To enter a speakeasy, you would need to know a secret knock or need to say a password to a door person. The word speakeasy came from a bartender's term. People were supposed to speak easy when they were at a bar, meaning to not look nervous, talk quickly, or to whisper. The quality of the alcohol sold in the speakeasies could range from very poor to very good. But cheap liquor was generally used because it would help with profits. The taste of this alcohol was horrible, so that's why different kinds of cocktails were created to mask the taste. A new generation of cocktails had begun. They used special slang to name the new cocktails: the bee's knees, the gin fizz, the white mule, the monkey rum. Often, speakeasies served alcohol in teacups in case of a raid. The Prohibition era finished in 1932. The necessity for speakeasies is gone today. However, the entertainment value remains. Nowadays, a lot of speakeasy bars exist not only in the United States of America, but also over the world. There's something cool about a few drinks in a bar that not too many people know about. The secret bar makes you feel like an insider, and you can imagine being in the time of Prohibition. And it is always fun to find this place because they don't have signs is plural and A is singular, so you can't have both. Because they don't have special signs and you never know how to get there. I've been to a place that you can only get to through a telephone booth. I also went to another bar that I could reach through a wine barrel. Now, Rothstein will conclude our presentation. Conclusion. From our presentation, you can see that Prohibition did more damage than good. No matter what law the government makes to control alcohol, it is inevitable that people will try to break it. It is clear that the 18th Amendment was not such a good idea to pass, and that the government made a good decision to amend the law so that no one under the age of 21 shall drink an alcoholic beverage, and that no one should operate any kind of machinery while under the influence of alcohol. After Prohibition was repealed, there was a dramatic decrease in alcohol consumption and a dramatic decrease in crime rates. This shows that the American nation knew later that Prohibition was a big mistake. However, for every mistake, there is always something to be learned. And I hope that you have learned something today more about Prohibition and speakeasy bars and all of the different things that happened in this period. Thank you very much.